Good evening, everyone. Good evening. This is Spirit Journey. And right now it is 10:25 p.m. and the date is July 29, 2020. As you see up here on the monitor, you see a book. And it came in the mail a couple of days ago. I ordered it. And it's Little Black Sambo. This is the book. This is not an original at all. But I'm looking on the internet now. And someone is selling the book for over $1,000. It's a first edition, second printing. This one doesn't have when they reprint, when this was printed. Doesn't have that information. But it feels brand new. Well, let me just tell you a little bit why you see this book. Well, I'm on my spirit journey, and I'm challenging belief systems, paradigm systems within myself, and I want to find out why certain things are what they are. Why are some things considered good and why some things are considered bad or taboo. And I've been thinking about Black history in America. And this is something. Wow. See, what I'm learning so far, even with this book, I've heard the name Sambo in the United States of America, that it's heavily used as a pejorative term, an insult to a Black person. The connotations that a stereotypical dumb Black person. But the Sambo is the different meanings, or the word has its history. And I do know an African fellow whose name is such. Okay. But I see, like in America, that a lot of things could get twisted around and distorted. And in my spiritual journey, I want to tackle those things that historically brought shame and embarrassment for Black people. And I'm not about to feel embarrassed anymore about my heritage, my Black heritage. Let's discover what's bad about certain people, whatever. And this name has such a negative connotation. But why? And part of it is bigotry, but it's a distortment of one's ignorance. Well, this book, it's an old book, and I'll show you the name. Let me get the name of the author. Okay. And it's by Helen Bannerman. She was born in 1862 in Britain, and she marries, and she and her husband's a doctor, and they moved to India. They lived there for 30 years, counted 30 years, and she wrote children's books on her experiences being in India for 30 years. She and her children, she had 4 children, and you write from where your experiences. So again, she did write children's books. And this little book because of misunderstanding and ignorance, took this book, which is innocent, this is an innocent book, and distorted it and made it into a book that was to later shame American blacks. I just read this book. See, it's just a little skinny little book. Harmless. It's a darling little book. It was written in 1899, so it's over 100 years old. And people wrote, the styles of writing changes over time. So sometimes even reading a book not even about one's race or ethnicity, nationality, it's different than what you would have today. So that aspect of the styles of writing will be different. Now, this book, I didn't know what to think when the book came in the mail and I took it out, and I see that it's an old drawing, old style drawing on it, and I was wondering what's inside. I didn't know what to make out of it. Then I finally said, let's open it up and let's start reading it. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of things. It's designed for little kids. I'm not going to really, show a lot of it, but just little, it's a child's book. Big letters. It's a children's book. Okay. For like preschoolers. It has some rhymes to it. The names of the people are all rhymes. And so that's why some of the names and the name Sambo. Okay. I have on my screen here about what the word means. So I just went on Google and typed in history of the meaning of Sambo, origins of Sambo. Okay. It says, for definition 1, it reads, I have to back up a little bit. Now again, she didn't live in the United States, the author. She lived in India, right? She lived in India. I don't think she ever came to the United States. So she wasn't about the culture and sentiments of the United States of America. She is a British-born woman, married to a British man, and then they went to India. And she became an author of children's books. She wrote out of her experience, and again, it's for little kids, and it's basically to introduce kids to the names of clothing, what you're wearing and the color. It's just a basic book to to introduce language and literature to little kids who are learning how to speak and later to read. So they're going to talk about colors, shapes, and names of animals. That's all what this book is about, and it had a little story plot, innocent. So let me read the name, Sambo, the one. It says, person of mixed blood in America and Asia. Okay, because she's writing this out from Asia. Okay. 1748. Okay, let me read again. Person of mixed blood in America and Asia, 1748. Perhaps from Spanish Sambo, bandy-legged in quotes, probably from Latin scrumbus, bow-legged, from Greek scambos, used variously in different regions to indicate some mixture of Asian, I'm sorry, rather, African, European, and Indian blood. Common senses were child of black and Indian parentage and offspring of a black and a mulatto. Okay, that's definition one. Definition two, or I should say the origins of the word. Number two, stereotypical name for male black person, now only derogatory, 1818. American English, probably a different word from Sambo. Um, Definition one. Like many such words, Cuffy, Rastas, etc., a common personal name among U.S. blacks in the slavery days, first attested 1704 in Boston, probably from an African source such as Fula, Sambo, in quotes, uncle, or a similar Hausa word meaning second son. It could be used without conscious racism or contempt until circa World War II, when the word fell from polite usage. Collateral casualties included the enormously popular children's book, The Story of Little Black Sambo, okay, the book I have here, by Helen Bannerman, which is about an East Indian child and the Sambo's restaurant chain, a U.S. pancake specialty joint originally opened in Santa Barbara, California, in 1957, the name supposedly from a merging of the names of the founders, Sam Bittistone and Neil Bonet. Okay, Bo, his nickname for his last name, Bonet. But the chain's decor and advertising leaned heavily on the book, which once contained 1,200 units, coast to coast. Civil rights agitation against it began in 1970s and the chain collapsed. Though the original restaurant still is open, many of the defunct restaurants were taken over by rival Denny's. Isn't that something? So, this is not a book about an African child. Let me look at, okay, I was looking at some other things here that I can find on the internet. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, a lot of ignorance about this. Yeah, okay. So see, this is history. I mean, see, we need to, as a black person, whatever, you need to start challenging your beliefs. Why something is bad or why something is good. What's the controversy? Like I remember a person telling me when they were a little girl. This was 80 years ago. And in the classroom, someone said that they were born in Africa. And the person who's listening felt shame that, oh, that's not a good thing. And the shame fell on that the listener. So I think blacks in the Americas, I would say, not just the United States of America, but all of the Americas, if you had that heritage, you were taught to feel ashamed. But see, that is propaganda. See, they didn't want you to want to go home. And to want to go home and you knew you couldn't go home. So make them not even want to even go there because it's a bad place. Bad, wild animals and stuff. The animals here. See, it's a distortion. That's what I'm getting out. That this book is a distortions upon distortions. It's the name itself. It's an innocent name. It was a very popular name. For one, it is an African name. In Hausa, that's a tribe in West Africa, and the Fula, also a West African tribe, and many of the blacks in the Americas come from the West Coast in Africa. So it's just it's like the name John or Tom in the English speaking world. It's a common name. And black is descriptive. And again, she lived in India. This was not a so-called an African. This was an Asian. Look at the shoes. See, this is not the original book. Okay? Someone else, people can get books and then they put their own illustrations. But look at the shoes. That's Asian. Asian shoes. And they're teaching the child different colors. If you start reading the book, they talk about the different colors of the clothes that are made. They talk about ghee. Ghee is butter made in India. The type of butter in India. They don't make ghee in West Africa. And it has tigers in it. Tigers are in India. It's a darling little book. It's innocent. And but when this is an English language book, so I'm sure in some circles maybe it did get to the U.S. It may have, but it's already stigmatized. Oh, it has the word black in it, so it must be about a American black or an African. See that? How Americans distort truth again? We distort things. And then black people don't follow up on it. And check it out. Why is this considered bad? There's nothing bad about this book. It's a darling little book for little children. I read this. I started reading this one book. This was about 17 years ago. I had read this. Well, I just read a couple of sentences and had to put it down. Okay, this was an adult book. A book for adults, and it was geared for black people, or English-speaking black people book. And I was curious. I had worked at this office. I did security work, and the person before me had left, and they had put a book for her reading. She put it in the drawer, and I was curious, and I was kind of bored. I said, "Oh, a book. Let me see what's about." And I opened. It had a black, clearly a book designed for black people. To cater to black people. It was a crime book. Honey, filth. It was very strong sexual stuff with such violence and disgusting. I put that book back so fast. I felt traumatized reading it because of the filth. And yet this is a a modern book. Okay, I saw the book maybe 17 years ago. And it's a lot of books like it that they have the new genre for American blacks, and it's heavily sexual in its flavor. But this type of sexual stuff is of pervert. I just couldn't believe the violence, sexual, I'd say. And then you have dumb American blacks who just hear the name Sambo and get a ruckus, getting into a ruckus. But yet they're not boycotting these books, these modern books geared for black adults with such a filth. See, a lot of us are becoming filthy in our thinking. And it manifests at how we even treat one another. It's unreal. Look at the movies that are out there, especially the movies from the 1990s of those gangster movies. And I supposed to feel edified watching that? Or how about what they call the blaxploitation films of the 1970s? See that? Did they boycott those movies? No, they thought this is cool. But here, this little book here, Little Black Sambo, and you get in a ruckus, and you never even read the damn book. How many of those people read this book? Now on the internet, when I was curious about the history of the name and the book, that they boycotted this store called Sambo's, which was a merging of the two names, the owners. The first part, Sam and Bo, those two portions were just put together. They're the first few letters of their last names. Okay? And then you're gonna in the 1970s they boycotted it. It was a successful chain. They made pancakes, and in this book, the little boy has pancakes that his mom made. But in the 1970s, they boycotted the chain, and they had to go out of business. All for misunderstanding. You caused the owners harm. How would you like someone to go and boycott you? All for misunderstanding. This is not even a black kid, a black / African kid. This is an Indian kid from India. Okay? Not an African. See, I'm angry about this. I'm angry that, see, we're told something and we believe it. It's like we believe everything people tell us. And it's lies. Lies. We believe lies about ourselves. And even if this was a little bit, it's a darling little book. Innocent. Innocent. For little, like, kids, preschoolers. You read it to them because it has little rhymes, and it talks about, little animals and colors. You got to teach kids colors and shapes and sizes and right? You're improving their vocabulary, right? It's an innocent name, and it's an African name. You got, it's something. So I'm glad to learn that. And I knew that my instincts were telling me, get these controversial books. And let's dig into it. Let's dig into the meat of why it's bad. You know what else? What other book I got? Let me show you. That's right, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Black people love to call each other an Uncle Tom. Okay, and it's by Harriet Beecher Stowe. I read just a couple of pages. But yeah, I want to find, it's a big book, boy. Yeah, it's a big book. And this came in last week. Yeah, see, I'm educating myself. I need to educate myself because, see, I've been filled with a lot of lies about myself, my heritage, a lot of things. And see, I mentioned, I think it was either earlier today or yesterday, someone mentioned about curses that are put on people, and that the power, I mean, what gives a curse its power is not the curse itself, but what you put into the curse. What you do, you empower the curse, not the curse. The curse is inactive. Who makes a curse active is you, by what you do. Just like people made this innocent name a curse. The name is neutral. The curse got strengthened through the ignorance of people who don't know, and made a whole generation of black people to think, oh, that's a bad word. Oh, that person has that name. Oh, that person must be a racist. And there's nothing racist about this book. Nothing. It's supposed to be in India. And this book was written over 100 years ago. See? So, yes. This was Uncle Tom's Cabin. It's a novel. And this book also was, I have to research her name, but she's an anti-slavery person. And this is a novel that was to teach the North primarily, I think, the northern states, the evils of slavery. And so this book was not to be, to insult this person named Tom, but it's to put light on an evil event that's happening. How do you address an evil? How do you talk about a very harsh subject? Just look at today. This is July 29, the year 2020. What about things that are happening now, like human trafficking, child molestations? How do you address those issues in today's world, in literature? How do you do that? So maybe you write a book about it, a story book about certain evils. Okay? So, but everybody calls, to insult black. See, again, you're insulting. You're taking an innocent person, about the evils of slavery, but then you're going to say bad things about it. And shaming, just like you shame this guy. It's a little child. Okay? I have a feeling the same thing's done with this. That is, it was a distortion, vilification of a book that is against slavery. Well, you got a lot of black people in the United States who insult other black people and call them an Uncle Tom. Shame on you. I'm going to read this. That's the next one I'm going to read. And then I have one more book. Now I had gotten this book some time ago, and then I discarded it, and then I reordered another book. Yeah, I heard about this book when I was in the military in the 1980s. It's called Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, illustrated and annotated by she herself. Okay. Yeah, the slave wrote this book. Her name, let me see if that's her name. Let's see what her name is. Oh, I don't see that. Yeah, I was born a slave, but I never knew it until 6 years of happy childhood had passed away. Okay, well, the girl, the slave, wrote her autobiography. Okay, and she wasn't. She was a very pale skinned girl. But this is just a cover. You know, people write books and people publish books, and then you can get different publishers, and they can put any cover on a book. So you have different versions of this book. The book I originally have was a paperback book, and it was, um, I think, blue, a baby blue book. But this is just came in also last week. I ordered all these books the same day, but they didn't all come together. But yeah, I decided to get this book again because it, what I remember about it, this part that always stood in my mind was the girl was hiding inside a house, just like what happened in World War II with the Diary of Anne Frank. How she and her family hid in a house. Well, she hid in her house behind the wall, and there was a part where she had loaned a poor white person money. Here she's a slave girl, and she had to give. She gave a white dude who was even poorer than her. I always remember that. I said, "Wow." It was alive. Like when I read it, I said, "Wow." See, we actually have very interesting history. But see, we're all embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed because an inquisitive person. And if Black Lives Matter, why don't you want to find out about the lives of these black people that you're supposed to come from? Okay? Because a lot of you don't like yourself, and that's why you're killing your babies. Okay? Yes, Black Lives Matter. So, learn your history. You know, and here I don't even come from the South. My black ancestors came from the Caribbean. It's all the same, you know, but I embrace it. I embrace the history of Black America. I embrace it because I'm born here. I'm raised here. I served in the military here. So whether I'm born in Brazil or if I'm born in Jamaica or if I'm born in Canada, for me, we're all the same brother and sisters of the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, we're all one. We're all one. We're on the same ships. Okay, they just dropped us off in different areas, but a lot of us don't want to accept that. But yes, I'm going to read this also. I can't wait to read this book, you know. And here, when I got this book originally, I was in my 20s. And I was just trying to find out about Black history. So many years later, and to have, you know, a full embrace and eager to learn about my African American history, you know, of the Americas. Yeah, great. So I suggest Black America, Black Caribbean, Black Latin America. Read upon your history. You really are an interesting people. There's nothing bad about you. You are really an interesting group. We're interesting people. And start reading about what happened to them. And assign to it one of honor. Yeah, these were honorable people. But some of us were forced to do dishonorable things to stay alive. But use your ancestors to gather what is honorable of them and incorporate in your life and live an honorable life now. You can't change the past, but you could influence your future. Live a goodly life. Teach your children goodly things. Teach them good things about themselves, to love, to love their history, and that you're overcomers. Okay? So those are my thoughts, and I'll probably um, let you know what my feelings are about these books. Because this is going to be the next one I'll be reading, and again with Little Black Sambo. This is an innocent book, and it caused people's ignorance here in America cause a company harm. Yeah, some of the people in America, when they got the name of the book, when it came out, that they distorted it, and it wasn't even about a black child. It was about a man from India, not a man, a child from India. That's all it was. So I thank you for listening, and whenever you come across something that's supposed to be a taboo or a so-called demeaning for a particular group that you may belong to, investigate it and read it for yourself and see what it really says. Okay? Take care, guys. Bye.